Okay, so we have a question in the chat. The question is, can I speak on the difference between clarifying a sense of self and what you really are? I'll just respond to what I'm guided to in reading the question, and if there's a part of the question that you want me to clarify further, or if I misunderstood, please just rephrase it, and I'll be happy to speak on that point. So the difference between the sense of self and what we are, one way of putting it is the sense of self is what you're not, and what you are is what you are, which what you are is inherently indescribable, and yet there are some ways of talking about what's true in a way that resonates. So terms that prompt that resonance is things like wholeness, completeness, aliveness, awareness, awakeness. Spaciousness, non-dual nature, awake nature, life, the Tao, radiance, void, emptiness. There are all these different terms that we can use. And so the sense of self is this, well, it's the sense of sense of self. It's the patterning that's expressed in thought, that, it's the story of you as a separate individual. The sense of self is this sense of me. I'm here as someone. I'm here as a Bo or a Bob, Carol, Catherine, Marvin, Justin, I don't know. I'm here as someone. And I am a fragile fragment of experiencing that constantly has to live life in a way, or approach life in a way that is in alignment with this hero's journey of finally getting there, of one day I'll be complete, one day I'll be good enough, one day I'll be safe, one day I'll be secure, one day I will be at peace, one day I won't have to seek, one day I won't have to suffer. So the sense of self is defined by this constant, well, not constant actually, it's not constant. A better word is persistent, a persistent sense of inadequacy, a persistent argument with how life is showing up. And it's this argument with life, argument with what is, that creates this sense of division. If there's a thinking pattern that says this should be different, and then another thinking pattern that's referring to the previous thinking pattern as being about a self, and that it's a self that's speaking, it's self that's that's doing the complaining, a self that this experience is about and happening from, for, then life, apparently, it's not true, but it can be the experience that life seems to be constructed in a way that's dualistic, of me over here somewhere in the body and everything that isn't me is out there. And so when we're clarifying the sense of self versus what we are, in this teaching, typically we start by exploring, our self-concepts, our ideas about how we define ourselves. And I guess the good news, in a way, is that typically everything that we're not is defined in these broken, deficient terms. So the one that's not good enough, the one that needs to be successful, the one that needs more, the one that needs to feel better. Those beliefs are good starting points for looking closer at misidentification, because really, awakeness, true nature, isn't broken. Awakeness isn't deficient in any way. There's just awakeness, there's just wholeness. What you are is already whole and complete. And none of the problems expressed in mental narrative are define you or about you in any way. So when we're looking at the difference between what you are and what you're not, typically we look at thought and see what am I believing, and seeing what are we believing about who's believing. Typically where we start in the bubble of self-reflection, and we say, okay, well, I'm Bo that's believing that I'm Bo, when that's not possible. So we look closer at if there is a Bo that can be found, and if it is really true that whatever that Bo is, there isn't one, just patterns, if it really feels like that's what we are, if it really feels like I'm Bo, or if that's just an assumption that I'm running with as awakeness, just the momentum of believing thought. Just like, prior to stopping and looking closer, I may be under the assumption that these glasses are what's seeing, when really it's not. Glasses aren't what's seeing. It's because of glasses that the image of what's appearing using this machinery is more in view, is clearer, but the glasses aren't what's seeing. Really, the eyes aren't what's seeing either. Eyes are what, within relativity, allows sight to be known, but the knowing of sight is prior to that. It's this sense of being, this consciousness. that everything in experience is based upon. So the process of looking closer at what we are and what we're not is really just a process of moving the cart from in front of the horse to behind the horse. Seeing that there isn't a noun that's verbing, there's just verbing. And that process of verbing can create the illusion that there's a noun that's seeing, a self that's speaking, a self that's feeling. But it's not true.